Hey guys, welcome back to A&J Education. In today's video, we're going to be discussing economics as a subject at university and what a typical week, typical month looks like. So if you're aspiring economist and you're not sure exactly what you're getting yourself into, keep watching because this video is going to be very useful to you. Right guys, so today we're very fortunate to be joined by my colleague Lorenzo. Hi Lorenzo.
Hi, Sonny.
Good to see you again. So, Lorenzo, what's your, you obviously did undergrad and masters at Cambridge in economics. So what's your typical week like for undergrad and what's your typical week like was for masters?
Well, I think Cambridge was maybe a bit different from other unis, but there's a lot of difference in Cambridge between term weeks and outside term weeks. And the term is very short. At Cambridge, it's only 8 weeks. And so during that term, you're gonna be very busy, and basically you're gonna have around 5 hours of lectures a day during weekdays, and then you're gonna have supervisions on top of that, and usually around 3 hours of supervisions. But basically, you're gonna have basically most of your day filled up by either studying or going to lectures. Usually most students kind of study 6 hours per day outside of lecture time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to be quite busy, and especially it's even busier because you're kind of at uni and there's all the social aspect of it, and so it's quite an intense 8-week period. Yeah. Outside of that, it gets more relaxed. You still have to study quite a lot, but it's kind of you're freer to adjust how you like.
And what's so if we're looking at your week during term time, so in a week, how many lectures do you have? How many supervision is a one-on-one kind of small group thing. How many classes? How much time do you spend in the library writing essays? So what did it look like?
Yeah, so more or less we'd have around 5 courses in one term, and for each of the courses you have 1 hour supervisions a week, and so there's around 5 hours of small group teachings for each of those courses, and then
per week.
Per week, exactly. And for those you're gonna have to prepare, and that's kind of every week they give you an assignment, and it's kind of your homework, and you have to submit it to go to the supervision.
So that's like an essay that you write.
Exactly, an essay or maths problems or things like that.
Either problem sheet or an essay, and you have 5 of those per week.
Yeah.
Okay, that does sound quite a lot, compared to other universities where it's a little bit more relaxed. And in lectures, so a lot of students complain that. Even at some of the best universities, basically the lectures are quite useless because you go there, if you're sitting nearby, you can hear them. If you're sitting quite far, maybe you don't hear the lecturer. Some of them are really good, some of them are less good. So, for example, a lot of my friends from university, from Oxford, didn't bother going to lectures. How did you find your experience at Cambridge?
Well, I think it depends a lot on the lecturer, that's for sure. There's definitely, you go into Cambridge expecting every single professor to be this amazing genius, and while most of them are, they're not very good at teaching sometimes. And so it depends a lot on who's teaching, and some people can make it interesting, some people can make it useful. But there's a lot of an understanding that most of the work needs to come from yourself, and so the lectures only go that far. They will probably, even if you pay attention to all the lectures, memorize all the lecture notes, you'll probably get around a 2-1 because most of the work you have to do on top of that.
Yeah. Very similar with my experience in material science. Lectures were useful, but you certainly were expected to read a lot around the subject. And in terms of the free time and the social aspect, so how much time would you say per week? So you have 168 hours in a week, right? 24 times 7, yeah. Of those hours, how many would you spend studying, sleeping, and then on social element?
Well, I guess it depends on the student.
Well, yeah.
But at least I would do at least 8 hours of sleeping a day.
Okay.
And then basically every single hour I wasn't studying would probably be social activities, because when you're at uni, you're just living with your friends, and you go to dinner with your friends, and so around probably 8 hours spent studying, sometimes less.
Okay, so you sleep, socialise, and study basically in a similar 1/3, 33% each. Okay, makes sense. Great. Well, doesn't actually sound too bad. So that's still 56 hours of doing that.
Yeah, and I guess it depends. During exam term, then the socializing diminishes. But,
Yeah.
But it's still quite doable.
And what about masters? So when you transitioned into that, did you have just as much socializing and kind of messing around as did during?
Yeah, I guess for the masters the taught part increased. So I had 2 terms out of 3, and the last one was mainly based around courseworks.
Okay.
And so those 2 terms we had more courses and more hours of lectures.
So is that like a dissertation for your coursework?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We had a 10,000 word dissertation, and basically you're given an entire term to write it. And I guess things did change for the masters a bit, but I think it's more about the kind of attitude. In terms of the amount of work you have to do, maybe increased slightly, but I think especially the people and the expectations for your exams raised a lot higher. And just because once you're there, there's already been a screening through undergrad, so you want to do very well, and everyone around you want to get a distinction, so you have to put a bit more work in.
Yeah, invest your time. Great. Well, Lorenzo, this was a useful overview. Any tips of advice to students who about to start economics, who how do they make the most of their time at university and find that right balance?
Well, I think most people there's not a right balance for everyone. I think that everyone needs to find what works for them, and some people study a lot more than others. Some people like socializing and then study outside of term time. I think there's not one recipe that works for everyone. If you're struggling, definitely one thing that I would advise is just reach out, because the university, especially good universities, have plenty of material and plenty of opportunities to find help, even both academically and non-academically, even socially. If you don't get enough social life, there's usually opportunities there to be helped.
Definitely. Great. Well, guys, all the best. Do make the most of your time studying economics if that's what you decide to do. But for now, Lorenzo, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great to have you back in the studio. And all the best to you guys. Take care.